Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about more complicated equations. For those of you following along at home who are not in my class, Algebra 1, Saxon Algebra 1, 3rd edition. We are on lesson 26 for this group. Lesson 26, we're going to be talking about, like I said, more complicated equations. Page 110 is where I'm at for this lesson. I'm going to do some of those examples and then I'm going to have you do those practice problems. Example number 1 says 3x minus 4 equals 5x plus 7. All right, what we want to do is, we have two sides to this equation, right? What we need to do, previously as I hiccup, I've talked about how we break things up into chunks, right? Chunks are broken up by addition, subtraction, and the equal signs. So we have 4 chunks here, right? We want to get all the chunks with a variable on one side, all the chunks with a non-variable on the other. Personally, I like to get my variables on the left and my non-variables on the right, if that's possible. So what I want to do is move these chunks around. And in order to move the chunks around, we do the inverse. So I'm going to minus 5x here, because if I do that, these will go away. But what I do to one side of the equal sign, I must do to the other. Okay? So now I have negative 2x, bring this down, minus 4 equals 7. So this one's now it's looking a little bit like what the ones we've done in the past. I want to get this chunk with the variable by itself, which means I need to move this guy over. In order to do that, I do plus 4 plus 4. These guys go away, and I'm left with negative 2x equals 11. 11. To get that x by itself now, we're currently multiplying. We need to do the inverse, which is divide. When I do that, these negative 2's go away, but what I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. X equals, now in this case, we can leave it as an improper fraction. I'm going to just at least bump that negative up to the top though. So it's negative 11 over 2. It did not start as a decimal, so we'll leave it as a fraction. I'm not sure if the answers have improper fractions or mixed numbers, but if your parents are grading these, you may have to switch between the two for them, okay? So that was example number 1. Okay, so then let's look at example number 2. Oh, actually that was number 2. I'm so sorry. Wait, what's the difference between? I don't know why example 1 and 2, they just have it's the exact same problem. It's just showing you 2 different ways of doing it. Moving the 5 over here or moving the 3 over here. Either way works. So we're gonna jump straight to 3. Sorry about that. That was example 3. All right, so we've got 3x plus 2 minus x plus 4 equals negative 5 minus x minus 4. All right, guys, before we begin moving things over from one side of the equation to the other, I highly advise that first you combine all your like terms and group everything that you need to in order to, before we go moving it around, okay? And what I mean by that is we have 3x here and negative x here. Don't forget that in front of a variable, we're mathematicians, guys, we're lazy. We don't like to write things unless absolutely necessary. If you have a variable that has no number in front of it, also called a coefficient, know that there is a 1, okay? So 3 plus a negative 1, that's gonna be 2x. At the same time, you'll see we have this 2 and this 4, which gives us 6, positive 6, equals, let's do some combining over here. Negative 5 and negative 4, right? And then we have that negative x. I'm going to just leave that negative x there. Negative 5, negative 4 gives us negative 9. So I've combined these two things. Now I'm in a position to be able to move things left and right. I want to move my variables to one side, so I'm going to move this by doing the opposite, okay? These guys cancel out, but what I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other. All right, so 2x and x is 3x plus 6 equals. Now be very careful here. Do not forget your negative sign. It's negative 9, okay? Now we're in a position, we want to get this chunk by itself, which means we need to move this chunk to the other side. To do that, we're going to do the inverse. When we do that, these guys cancel out, and we bring down 3x equals negative 9 and negative 6 is negative 15. Right here, we're multiplying 3 times x, and the opposite of multiply is divide. When we do that, these guys cancel out, but what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. X equals negative divided by a positive is a negative. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So good, guys. What you want to do is make sure that you're adding all of your, add all your like terms, do all your distribution, all that good stuff before you go moving things left and right to either side of the equation. All right, let's look at example number 4. I have k plus 3 minus 4k plus 7 equals 2k minus 5. All right, so what we're gonna do here is, as I mentioned, we wanna combine our like terms. We're lazy mathematicians. We don't write 1 if it's in front of our variable. So if we have a variable without a number, know that it is 1. You can go ahead and write that in for right now, and as you get used to it, you'll start dropping it. So that's 1k. This is negative 4k. Notice that I'm underlining the operation that comes before it. That's really important because you want to remember that that's a negative, right? So positive 3, positive 7. So let's go ahead and combine those guys. I personally like to start with my variables first. 1k and negative 4k gives me negative 3k. 3 and 7 gives me 10. Equals, let's bring all the other garbage down. All right, now we're in a position to start moving things around. I want to move this chunk over here to the other side, so I'm going to do the inverse, which is minus 2k. When I do that, these guys cancel out. I'm going to do, but what I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Negative 3k, negative 2k gives me negative 5k plus 10 equals, and again, be really aware that's a negative 5. Okay, now that we're, okay, jokes. All right, now we're in a position, we want to get this chunk by itself, which means we need to move this chunk over. Minus 10, minus 10. These guys cancel out. I'm going to go ahead and bring down negative 5k equals negative 5 and negative 10 gives me negative 15. Divide both sides by negative 5 so that that cancels out over here. K is all now by itself equals negative divided by negative is a positive. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So our answer is 3. Excellent. Okay, so we're on example number 5. All right, so for example number 5, we have negative 7n plus 3 plus 2n equals 4n minus 5 plus n. Again, just a reminder, you want to do all of your adding, you want to do everything you can on either side before you start moving things to the other side. Looks here like we can group some like terms. Negative 7n, positive 2n, positive 3, and then we've got 4n and positive, it's not shown, but remember that's a 1. And then we have a negative 5. So let's group over here. Negative 7 and 2 is negative 5n. Bring down our plus 3 equals 4n and 1n gives me 5n minus 5. 5n minus 5. I'm going to go ahead and minus 5n from both sides. Cancels out here. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Negative 5n is negative 10n plus 3 that I'm bringing down equals negative 5. Okay, now we're in a position to get this chunk by itself by moving this chunk over. So minus 3 minus 3. These guys cancel out. Negative 10n equals 5, 6, 7, and 8, so that's negative 8. Now we're in a position to divide. Divide this by negative 10, divide this by negative 10. If we do that, these cancel out, and I get that n all by itself. N equals, negative divided by a negative is a positive. 8 over 10, but that can be reduced. Think about if we cut those in half, we would have 4 over 5. So our answer is n equals 4 over 5. Please ensure that you are showing your answer as the most reduced fraction, okay? Most reduced fraction. All right, so that was example 5. One more example, and it's gonna be similar to the other one, so I'm not too worried about that. On page 112, there's practice A through D. Go ahead and pause the video now. Do those practice problems. A is 3m minus 7m equals 8m minus 6. All right, so we want to combine things before we go moving them around. We have 3m and we have a negative 7m. That's going to give us negative 4m equals 8m minus 6. I want to get the variables on one side, non-variables on the other. So I'm going to move this chunk over to the other side by minusing 8m. When I do that, this cancels out, but what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. When we go ahead and do that, we get -4, -8, that's -12m equals, bring down this, and again, be really aware of that negative sign. -6, -12 times m is, we're multiplying, and the opposite of multiply, divide. So divide by -12. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other, -12. So m equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 6 over 12, well, 6 is just half of 12, right? So this would reduce down. If I divided this by 6 and divide this by 6, I would get 1 over 2, okay? So our answer is m equals 1/2. Let's go ahead and try for B. All right, for B, we have 5 minus 6p equals 9p minus 7 plus 8p minus 3 plus 2p. All right, so taking a look at this, again, you want to do everything that you can on either side of the equation before you go moving things around. Can't really do much here, but over here I have 9p, I have positive 8p, and positive 2p. Then I have -7 and -3. Again, take a look, and I am underlining that operation that comes before it, and that's so that we don't lose those negative signs, particularly the negatives. So I'm going to bring this down. 5 minus 6p equals, take 9p plus 8p, that's going to be 17p. This is plus 2 more is 19p. Okay, so 11, 19, yep, good. -7 and -3 gives me -10. All right, now I'm in a position to move things around. I'm going to minus 19p from both sides. Draw our line, cancel out. Let's bring everything else down. 5 minus and 16 and 19, that's going to give us 25p equals -10. Now we're in a position to get this chunk by itself, so we're going to move this chunk over. Notice it's a positive 5. We're going to minus 5 from both sides. Don't get confused with this one that comes after it. -5, -5. Draw our line, cancel those guys out. -25p equals -15. -15. Again, we're going to divide by -25, divide by -25. These cancel out, leave our p by itself. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 15 and 5, these can both be divided by 5, right? And that'll give us 3 over 5. So p equals 3 over 5. All right, let's try for C. (2x plus 3x plus 4x), we got lots of x's here, plus 5, or -5 equals 2 plus 3 plus 4x. All right, pause the video if you haven't already and make sure that you're attempting these problems first. All right, and what we want to do, again, we want to group everything together that we can on either side of the equation before we go moving to the left and right. We have positive 2x, positive 3x, positive 4x. Just a reminder that I'm underlining those operations. -5. All right, then we have 2, 3, and we have just 4x here. So on this side, we have 2, 3, and 4. 4 and 3 is 7, 8, 9, so that's 9x. I can't group it with anything else, so -5 equals 2 and 3 is 5, 5 plus 4x, okay? Now we're in a position to be able to move things around, or move things from one side to the other. I want to take this 4x and move it over here so I can group those together. I'm going to do -4x, -4x. So that way on this side it cancels out, and I'm left with 5x minus 5 equals 5. All right, so now I'm in a position to get this chunk with the variable by itself by moving this chunk over to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and add 5 this time to both sides. What I have, these guys cancel out. What I have is 5x equals 10. 5 times x, the opposite of times is divide. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides. X equals 2. 10 divided by 5 is 2. All right, guys, one more problem. You write it out, and then you can pause it and see if you haven't already. So for D, we have 3p plus 7 minus -3. I don't like using, there's parentheses in here, but I don't like using them, so I just make sure that my negative is boosted up a little bit, okay? So -3 equals p plus -2. All right, again, we want to group everything on one side before we go moving it left and right. Taking a look here, whenever we have subtraction, especially subtracting, whenever we have subtraction, that's fine. However, I want to add the opposite here because otherwise it's just going to get confusing having a subtraction negative, right? So on this side, we have 3p, and then we have 7 and 3. Positive 7, right? Positive 3. Notice I'm underlining those operations. That's 3p plus 10 equals p minus 2, or plus a negative 2, right? We can do plus a negative. All right, now what I want to do is move that p over to this side, so I'm going to minus p. And again, just a reminder that if you don't have a coefficient, aka a number in front of your variable, it is 1, because mathematicians are lazy. So 3p minus 1p is 2p plus 10 that I've brought down equals negative 2. All right, from here we are now in a position to get this chunk by itself by moving this chunk over to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite there. These guys cancel out. I get 2p equals negative 12. To get that p by itself, we're going to do the opposite, which is inverse or division. Divide that by 2. Those cancel out. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. P equals negative 6. Excellent work, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in class. I hope that helped. I love solving equations. That's a large chunk of what algebra is. So yay, I can't wait to solve more equations. I will see you in class. Thanks, guys.